How are you doing today?
Good, doing pretty good today. Been making sure that I wake up at a reasonable time. Not necessarily for the interview. I generally make sure I get myself out of bed around like 8 o'clock just so I can start my day.
Oh yeah, you usually have a pretty good schedule, even to sleep at a normal time, as far as I'm aware.
Oh yeah, I always make sure sleep is important because I can't be awake 24 hours a day.
Oh
It's
yeah,
rough.
wouldn't that be great or a shame at the same time? I haven't slept.
Oh
I've been
no.
up all night because I had to pick up responsibilities from somebody else on a project that's due very soon. So I was just like burning through the midnight oil and like, oh, I'll just clean up this interview and then go to sleep afterwards.
Ah, jeez. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I know that feeling. I used to do that too.
that's my life. So,
Ah.
welcome to the show that I'm calling Within the Underpass because we're all kind of like indie underground creators here. And when I think of like underground stuff, I always think of this underpass that I used to sit at as a kid with my friends. And you'd always see like the graffiti and stuff on the inside up at that little top corner there. And that's just like the image in my head. So, welcome to my show. And today we are talking to Ninehammer, who you actually have quite a few things going on for you. I always refer
Oh
to
yeah.
you as kind of like a workhorse, not as an insult because I'm from Texas, so like the actual work animals are some of the most respected members of the household, even more than your own children.
Oh yeah, I get you.
And you are a driven person who is really good at using your time because you've got three different shows running.
That is true, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You have Beyond the Fog, you have Chaotic Heart, and you have Solace all running at the same time, which
Mm.
is crazily impressive. For as far as I know, you do the majority of the work yourself. Like I know you'll have like you have like an editor or whatever helping you fill in like backgrounds or whatever here and there, but you do like pretty much the bulk of the work yourself, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. And more often than not, I try to make sure that if something doesn't, I guess, persist in my schedule, I try to make sure to say, "Hey, is someone able to pick this up?" And I might have someone do some rough storyboards or something like that, or maybe some character designs, just so it helps speeds things up, and I don't have to make it eat into my schedule in my daily life.
As you should, because it's
Yeah.
already crazy enough that you do the bulk of the work yourself on honestly really good looking animations like for the amount of time that goes into it. Like this is top notch work. But you're actually in school for animation, right?
Yeah, I'm currently year three of my well, it's year three, but I'm hoping to go into a grad school for animation, 2D animation, 3D. Hopefully, something turns out well from there, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty excited to see how it goes.
Oh, I'm excited too because I like watching your stuff. So anything you do, if it makes all of your works better because you get more information and skills and stuff, then that just makes it better for me as an audience member.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So instead of just gushing about this stuff, let's actually start talking a little bit about you and the stuff that you're doing. And you can open up on that. Like, if somebody knew nothing about you, how would you introduce yourself?
That is a good question. I would say that some starting points would be for myself. I love to just make things. I love to create stories, and I okay, I guess to put it in simpler terms, I love making things and I'm always willing to improve on my own craft despite what the future may hold in terms of like the market or something like that. Let's say some things in terms of YouTube shifts towards short form content. I can do that. That's completely fine, but I don't want to make it hinder my capabilities of improving myself in my own art. So I would say for someone who is new to whatever I do, I would say I love to just make original stuff. And I also like to have some fun, spice things up with some little parodies, animations, I suppose.
Mm. That's not a very good answer, but it's a start.
No, it's yeah, no, it's something I've been trying to figure out
Yeah.
myself. In terms of someone who's just starting to get to know what I do, I pretty much just make stories, original stuff.
Yeah. Oh, don't we all though? Like that's the most fun is just working on like the characters that you crafted that are kind of close to your own heart.
Mm.
Like, I don't know. I know a lot of people go out there and a lot of what they do is parody. A lot of what they do is like they work on things that other people have set the groundwork for them. They'll use like Nintendo characters or whatever, and that's all fine and dandy, sure, whatever. I just don't get it. Like, it's not something I can really work with. You and I are very similar in that way because until my scanner died, I was doing a lot of stories, but in comic form. And like you, I just kind of I like working with my own stuff. It's because it's mine. I don't have to like give anybody else the credit. It's just it's something that came from me, and I get to craft these things, and there's a lot of heart that goes into it.
Yeah.
And you
You,
just
you
can't
know
do the
what?
same thing with parody.
Yeah, you bring up a good point there, and I wish I described it better when I was trying to
Yeah.
explain it because I was trying to find the words there. But you actually bring up a good point. The autonomy of your own work is the best part about making original stuff because you have full control over things, and you aren't worried about a certain corporation sending you a C&D about you making a parody animation
Yeah. Even if it's 100% within like, you know,
within your
parody
right.
laws and fair use and stuff like that.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, it's just original stuff. I just find more, no pun intended, I find more solace in just creating original stuff.
No, always intend your puns.
Yeah, completely intentional, yes.
Here within the underpass, we always intend our puns, and I will shame anybody who doesn't.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like the fact that like all three of your shows, while your voice clearly comes through, and one of the reasons why I tapped you is not only are you a very consistent creator that's talented, and I think consistency really is key. You have a very strong voice that a
Hmm.
lot of, I would say, early year animators, because you've only been doing this for so long, aside from being in school, um, it, a lot of people don't have a solid voice in their art, right? Like,
Right.
all three of these stories are very, very different looking at them, but your voice shows through, and you'd be able to look at it and be like, oh, yeah, that's nine on any of them. And that's a good
I
thing.
like that. Oh man. Yeah, no, that's a good way you brought it up because I love to just diversify anything that I create. With the first series, Beyond the Fog, I was sort of starting out about 3 years ago or something like that. It's been a bit. But what I wanted to do is, I guess, diversify myself from the usual crowd when I was making these. I It's really hard to describe. I wanted to make something narrative driven rather than something that had a punchline at the end of it. It
Yeah.
can have jokes and stuff like that, but I wanted to just intersplice it inside of the animation just so it's not the only thing that you're coming to the animation for. Just so it has some long term, so, I guess,
Yeah,
some
you're trying to make
longevity to
something
it.
serial, right? Like something you might see on like an actual TV network or something, even if it's in shorter form.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I
That
think
is
you've
a
definitely accomplished that so far because there is
mm.
a steady narrative that people can follow if they're watching. So that's good.
Yeah, I've also been trying to branch out and making something that's not necessarily in a series, in a series like you mentioned before. I've been trying to figure that out, but I feel like maybe I can try doing a pilot and see how that goes or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, I noticed that your status on Discord is animated pilot in the works.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Leaving it up to the person to decide. No, I've been trying to figure that part out for myself. I haven't necessarily announced what I was going to do, but I'm trying to find the rhythm there.
Yeah, I know it's rough. Like I've tried to start working on pilots and stuff because I want to work on animation. My problem is I do like most of what I do traditionally,
Mm.
right? So since like I said my scanner died, and also I went and bought like a light box so I could go and
Ooh.
like I have like 2,500 sheets of paper in my closet prepared for stuff like that. And the light box I bought was dead on arrival. I'm like,
Oh shit.
and then I couldn't even contact the company to try to get a refund. It was a good thing it only cost me like $20, but it's like, man, I'm probably just gonna have to go and like, I don't know, hold up an animator or something like that at gunpoint.
Give me your light box, please. No, yeah,
No, no, I
I
was saying
had.
to animate the show for me.
Just
At this point,
animate the
I'm not
show.
stealing their line. I'm like, oh no, no, we just
I
cut
was
out
thinking
the
something
middleman.
completely different. Yeah, no, I had a similar thing with my Lightbox too. Initially, I got a Lightbox from Amazon and had it shipped to me. When I plugged it in, didn't work.
Yeah, it was Amazon as
Some,
well.
yeah, some of them are very cheaply made, and it's rough. It really
Yeah,
is.
I just have to make my own. It's probably the only way to do it. Or
Hey,
I think
that can work.
Michaels has some, but theirs are the old school ones with like those big fat like ceiling fan light bulbs, like a normal size light bulb goes inside there, and those things
Oh
range up to
yeah,
like $45 just for the box. It's like ah.
yeah, that's a bit much.
Yeah. But like I know the pilot, that's something you like wrestle your brain over, right? Because you want it to be fully representative of whatever you're putting out, right? It's got to like be a one and done episode that really gives the average of what people can expect of whatever program they're going to be watching.
Oh yeah, you have to show everything that could potentially be the series in that one pilot, and that's what I've been trying to figure out for the past couple of months.
Yeah, and everybody always thinks like, oh, pilot episode 1 is like, no, no, actually often most pilots are like episode 8 or 10 just because they're
Mm,
better representation of the rest of the series.
yeah, that's a good way of putting it, actually. Mm. And I don't know. I honestly, I just found myself looking at pilots from the past couple of years when it came to just things on the internet and even off the air, not off the air, but offline. And I saw them, and I've been thinking to myself, how could I not replicate it, but sort of follow in their footsteps in a way that's not necessarily derivative. I
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
make
yeah.
something that's fresh and new,
Well,
and
you've
it's
kind of
been
already made 3 fresh and new things, so it can't be that hard for you.
that's true. Yeah, I probably went about this the entire like completely backwards, or maybe I don't know. That's a good thing you brought that up, though. I
Yeah.
kind of should be using this as a way to refer back to things.
Yeah, because what I do is, because there's nothing new under the sun. It's something that everybody's just gonna have to understand eventually.
Hmm.
I just kind of do whatever I feel like at the moment. Like if I was gonna make a pilot for a show, I would just sit there and think like, what would be fun to make, and then just kind of go from there.
Mm. I suppose, in a way, the first episode of Solace, which is the prelude, kind of served as a pilot, but I just didn't title it as such.
Yeah. So Solace is fun because unlike say the other two so far, it's seems a little more episodic, a little more just like you could have fun with just like a gimmick of whatever each episode is.
Yeah, kind of like a sort of animate as you go, and you tell a story that you feel like suits the time that you're making it in.
Yeah. So it's
That's
nice to have
honestly,
something that you have a little more flexibility and freedom with.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Very fun, free flowing series, and honestly, I'm definitely just down to keep it on the running for a while if it means I can have fun with animation.
Yeah. Because I know, especially, I know you do a lot of like really good like smear frames with your action shots because you have a lot of really fast pace and fluid action. But I know when it comes to more narrative driven things, you have to kind of like fish out the fun animation shots. You have to make it work with whatever the story is. You can't just like throw spaghetti at the wall every single time.
Yeah, you can't just throw that in to see what sticks. You kind of have to find out what suits each scene. And honestly, the dialogue scenes are probably the things that I am relieved about. It's more so whenever I have to animate something like super high end. I think I remember it's in like Chaotic Heart's third episode where it's Sophia and she's jumping through all these platforms and it's all animated on ones and twos because I was like, what if I just did this?
Yeah.
Something to break up the pace.
Yeah, and like I don't know if you were like completely serious or half joking because sometimes it's hard to tell,
Hmm?
especially for some of us who've been up for a while. And yeah, like your social senses don't work as much when you're running on the brink of a waking period. But one day, like a month or two ago, you said, well, I finished all my storyboards for the year. How serious were you about that?
Almost very serious. Aside from
Oh,
the no. I'll explain this. So I
yeah.
like to get pre-production done at the beginning of the year, just so I can get everything done. So to put it in perspective, I actually have another animated series in the works.
Oh, nice.
So okay, so I
Much
actually have
respect.
Beyond the Fog. I have three more episodes of Chaotic Heart. We have a new season which has three more episodes and an intro animation, but that's something completely different. Solace actually has, I think, how many things of Solace has five more episodes, another chapter after this, and a new series which I'm not even sure if I can say the title. Is it fine if I say the thing here? I could probably just say
It's
anything.
up to you. I mean, this is your
Hmm.
interview. This is gonna go up. I can't promise when.
Oh, hmm.
You are episode 2 of this show,
Oh,
so that
you
that
know
that is
what? I'll
entirely up to you.
I'll leave it for later. I'll just say
Leave it a
that there's
mystery. Let it fester in the audience's head.
yeah, ooh. Yeah. I actually have one intro animation there and three more animation episodes of that series. So I think if I count that correctly, it's like 13 more episodes I gotta complete by the end of this year. And honestly, I'm
That's like
fine
a
with that.
full season for a year. Like that's not too bad.
Yeah, I'm honestly fine with that because it
Yeah,
gives me something to do.
yeah. No, that's great, man. I was hoping you were pretty much dead serious on that. I was just
Oh yeah.
laughing not at you saying it, but how like everybody else was reacting to it. Because I'm like, no. Based on like your work ethic, I was assuming that was probably correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I, yeah, it's. I know I'm bad. I'm like lots of words when I'm just thinking about this, but I'm kind of putting myself at not necessarily in a bad spot because I honestly really want to make sure I keep my brain sharp when it comes to being like, oh, I have to do this at X time because I don't want to necessarily overload myself, but I at least need to keep myself sharp. Like just like when people do puzzles or something. I can't
Yeah,
speak
well,
today.
because it's a
Puzzles.
discipline.
Yeah, yeah, it's a discipline, and I
Yeah.
like to just make sure I have something to do at X amount of time, X amount of hours a day, just so I can keep myself up to snuff.
Well, it's like I was trying to tell a lot of these like there's a lot of youngins, like really
Oh yeah.
youngins in the festival server where we hang out from time to time. And
Mm,
by that I mean like there's some people who are like 18, 19, literally just jumping in for the first time, right?
yeah.
And I try to explain to them that the word art at one point in time was synonymous with discipline. They mean the same thing
Mm,
historically.
exactly. Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, oh man, where do you get the motivation? I'm having trouble getting motivation. It's not about motivation. It's not about motivation at all. Because motivation is a very fleeting thing that is not your friend. You got to be a discipline. Discipline solves almost all your problems. If you're disciplined, you can tell motivation to go screw off. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I've found that I've been telling my not telling myself, but I've been thinking about this whole thing where a lot of people I guess this is just a me thing, but it's a lot of people saying, "Oh, just do art." And I'm like, that's not how it works. You have to schedule you have to first off, you have to find the time to do the art.
Get a planner.
You have to plan this stuff out just so you don't necessarily get to your canvas, look at it for an hour and say, "Oh, okay, I'll come back to it tomorrow."
Yeah, yeah. Warm ups are always good, right? Like, you got to treat it like I would treat it the same way I treat my martial arts, right? Like I don't just go straight into forms or whatever. You got to like do some stretches, maybe throw some punches or kicks first. It's like a lot like doing art. It's good to do like maybe some shape warm ups, gestures and stuff like that. Kind of like work into it so you're already in that zone when you go and actually rough something out.
Yeah, like post practices and all that. I do that.
Yeah.
Helps a lot.
But like, no, I'm gonna go sketch this guy. It's not even just a sketch. It's gonna be the definitive character art for this series that I've been thinking about doing, but I don't have planned out at all.
Just do a sketch. Well, I guess it also just goes into what people are looking to do later on when it comes to their art career. Because it
Yeah,
is a career. It's just like
yeah.
I sometimes see the same story where it's just I actually spoken to some people about this. I'm not going to name names definitely, but it's when
We like
they're
to be very vague here, Vague posting about people is our favorite. I've already vague posted about people in the last episode, so we can keep that trend going.
Yeah. No, I hear people say, "Oh, I want to go into the animation thing, and I want to go into animation school, and I want to make a cartoon just like Rebecca Sugar or I guess Owl House or something like that."
Yeah,
But
like
they need
Alex
to,
Hirsch or anybody, you know.
yeah, I want to be like them. But what they don't realize is that a lot of that stuff has discipline in it. You can't just go into like the studio and say, "I want to do this." You have to first off, you need to learn how to make a ball bounce.
Yeah,
Just take 5 seconds. Just take like 3 minutes out of your day. Make a ball bounce. There you go. You're
you
in
gotta
the
learn
industry now.
your stretches and your squeezes and all that stuff.
Yeah, but flour sack stuff, you have to know
Yeah.
all that before you even think about making a cartoon. If you really want to make a cartoon, that's fine and dandy. But if you want to make sure you have some long term success in it all, you have to know where to start.
Well, I think part of the problem, right, is everybody keeps hearing this term, and it's the one they like to throw around your art journey, which is not wrong. It's not an
It's not.
incorrect term, but it's a very misleading one because I think people misunderstand what the word journey means. If I'm going to take a journey to the other side of the country, I'm going to plan my route out pretty well before I take off and kind of know where I'm going. Make sure I know where I can fuel up along the way, maybe where I can get a hotel, maybe where I can eat and stuff like that. Maybe try to avoid some traffic. Just because something's a journey doesn't mean you should be wandering blind through the forest for like 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's honestly something that I've just been hearing about constantly.
Yeah.
It's just people have this aspiration and they don't know how to plan out their routes, just like you're saying.
Yeah. Well, again, it's like any discipline, right? Like, going back to martial arts, I like to shit on the Dan ranking system a lot, like how the belt system works. But for a lot of people, it's a very good way to at least plan out your journey.
Hmm.
Even if like I lose respect for it because there are people with black belts that have never sparred a day in their life. But I mean, it'll get you into your katas, right? And you'll learn the simple ones into the like incrementally more difficult ones and stuff like that. And it's like any discipline, there is some type of route you need to take to get to where you're going. And a lot of people just kind of like dilly dally, like, I think I'll draw eyebrows today, just eyebrows.
I'll just only draw the eyebrows.
Highly rendered eyebrow. I mean, rendering skills are getting top notch, but what are you going to do with it?
Ooh, yeah. You know what? You remind me of something. I've kind of been seeing, what am I trying to say? Some artists I see on Twitter and on Newgrounds specifically, they have this I guess this tendency to fall back in their comfort zone. And as fine as and dandy as that is, sometimes I see if I'm looking at someone's Newgrounds page and I'm wondering what they're doing, if I see 70 pieces that are all relatively the same, I'm gonna wonder what are
Yeah.
they doing? If
Especially
it's
if
just
like
like
same face syndrome, I notice
same
that's a
face,
lot. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. I see several artists on Newgrounds like that.
Yeah. Well, so a big problem too is they fall into a comfort zone because they don't really have a comfort zone. It's their simple zone, right? A
Simple
lot of
zone.
people haven't even developed a voice yet, right? Which, like I said, you have one. So, like,
Mm,
I always give people advice. I wouldn't give this to you because you're already past this point. Though it's a good exercise for anybody. Is I would tell someone like if they're developing a character for the first time, they really don't know what their artistic voice is from like an illustrative or even if you're gonna turn it into an animation at some point. I always tell them like find like 6 to 12 artists that really inspire you, like famous people, or whatever, just whether you really like the style of the work that you see, and try to like redraw that one same character of yours over and over again until you can mimic each of their styles.
hmm. Well,
And
that's pretty
when you,
interesting.
yeah, because when you do that, you'll find out what you do and don't like about what they do, right? Because you kind of intuitively know you like stuff about those people, but until you actually get down and try to recreate it, you don't really understand what you do and don't like about what they're doing. And that's a good way to discover your own voice as an artist.
I agree. Yeah, like
Yeah.
fan art is one way of doing that, from my understanding. and
Yeah,
just
but
draw
the
their
problem is a
characters.
lot of people get like lazy with their fan art, right? So they'll
Oh
just
yeah.
like talk about your comfort zone. They'll try to redraw the character in the very simple kind of like how to draw manga book style that they picked up in the fourth grade, as opposed to actually trying to draw the character the way that the artist draws them so they can learn how the character should look.
Yeah. And to be honest, I've done things like that too, where I've just studied people's characters. I've done master studies and I've also just made fan art for people. And one person who is very much inspired me is Roxim, who is on Newgrounds actually. He is so good with his art. It's just so striking how he creates the work, and it's kind of
Oh
just
yeah.
permeated into my art too. And I know, and I'm fine with that too. It's just,
Oh no,
it's
it's
a fun
good. It's got to
style.
be inspired by people. You
Yeah.
know, you got to know what you like.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, I get inspired by a lot of people. My avatar right here is basically just me redrawing Tite Kubo style from Bleach. I've got no shame from that, you
Ooh.
know.
No, I respect it.
Yeah, you gotta figure out what you like. That's how you develop voice. And I think like because I see so many people obsessed with like, I'm trying to find my style. I'm trying to find my style. And you know this be
Yeah.
from doing three different shows, which each have a different style to them, but they have your voice. That a work or a composition can have a style, but an artist does not.
Yeah. It's yeah. I just messed around with a couple of things, see what works, and I just went with it just for like maybe a show or something like that. And after a while, I kind of just developed this versatility where it's just like, do I want to use a thick line art style? Do I want to use a thin line art style? Because if I kind of just stick to one thing, I hate myself for it because it's just me retreading similar ground. And it's, well, not
Yeah.
retreading, but it's just if I stick to one style throughout everything that I want to create, then it's really mentally taxing for me.
Oh yeah, I can relate. Like I am running three different comics or whatever right now, and each one of them are in a different art style.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm the same way.
Yeah, but it's like it's fine because as long as everything in that composition is cohesive, right? There's a coherence to it, then it doesn't matter. You can
Hmm.
jump around between compositions as much as you want.
Yeah, I can see that. And honestly,
Yeah,
I'm the same way. It's like
yeah,
one day
I could
I'm
see it in
thinking,
your work, just like right there.
yeah, I practically work on all of the series at the same time not each day, but anytime I have a nice little off day, I kind of have to say, okay, I'm working 1 hour on this show, maybe 2 hours on this one. And it's like, it's fun because I'm kind of keeping my mind sharp saying, okay, what do I have to do for this show? And how can I just make sure that I don't fall behind on knowing what art style I have to use, I guess.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense because
No, no, it makes perfect sense
it's
to me at least. I don't know about the people listening at home, but hopefully they're following along with whatever we're saying. But sometimes it's hard when you're like in industry or like you work in this stuff a lot because I do a lot of illustrative work for people outside of just doing my comics. Mostly it's for like graphic design and stuff, but like when you're used to this stuff, you kind of develop like inside baseball speak, right? And you could pick up what
I'm
somebody else is
interested.
saying, and the other person can pick up what you're saying. But somebody who's like just learning, like, what does that mean? I'm trying to figure out what they're describing here. I don't know. I lack the experience to know.
Yeah, it's a different language, I
Yeah.
suppose.
To some degree, it is because you might even be saying the same things, but you're using them in different ways than people are used to.
Right.
And I understand exactly what you're saying though. Probably because I do the same stuff, just in more of a static art form.
Okay, that's a relief.
Yeah. So at least it's not going over the head of the person you're directly talking to.
Hmm. You know what? Now that we were talking about earlier about scheduling and all that stuff, I
Yeah.
kind of just briefly touched upon it. But the best way I do it is just by making sure that I schedule everything else like a week or two in advance. And then if I see that it works out, and the following day I kind of hit the ground running with it, and it
Yeah.
actually works out pretty well because it's just it festers in my mind that I have to work on Beyond the Fog either tomorrow or the following day, and then once I get a good night's rest, I'm up and ready, and then I work on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And plus, if you
Works pretty
schedule
well.
that far ahead, if something does come up, it becomes easier to see the gaps in the schedule for like rescheduling than trying to
Hey,
do
move things.
everything last minute. Like, oof.
Yeah. It makes things a lot better with my work life balance stuff because I don't think I brought this up, but actually I have a part time job and I have school and
Yeah.
I also do this, so I'm practically doing something that is I don't know. I'm practically just devoting a lot of time to something related to something. I don't
Well,
know.
so that was like another part of the scheduling and the discipline aspect of it. I think discipline's kind of just like maybe the theme of this episode. I know a lot of people, again, vague posting. You know them too, maybe
Yeah.
even one in particular, where they have day jobs as well, and
Mhm.
they're trying to create their own like series, with their own independent property, their intellectual property, and they come home from their day job and they're just too tired to work on their series. But then they'll go and play video games instead to try to wind down. And part of the tiredness is less to do with the fact that their day job tired them out, though, because I mean, that's going to happen regardless, but because they haven't like pre-scheduled to make the best use of their time and their energy, and they're not disciplined. So instead of going in and maybe, I don't know, too tired to draw, but you could at least work on a storyboard or something like that, they just go and play a video game.
It's a good thing you brought that up. So I have
Yeah.
similar sentiments. No, I would like it if, well, I'm specifically saying myself in this instance.
Yeah.
If I were to work a part-time job, let's say, all right, I'm going to set the stage here. Say I only have 16 hours in a day to be awake.
Yeah, because you have to sleep sometime.
Yeah, because I have to sleep. Sleep's important. I have to, let's say I have a part-time job and I have to work, let's say 6 hours in that day. That's 10 hours now that I have to myself. Oh, but wait, I have to get ready in the morning and make sure I'm hygienic. That's another hour in a
You
day
might
that I
need to
have to,
commute.
yeah, I have to commute. That's now 8 hours.
You
Well,
gotta eat.
yeah, I have to eat now, and that's now 7 hours. See how it's trickling down?
Yeah, yeah. And you,
But
you got
that's
to get
not,
some exercise of some sort in there if you because your brain doesn't work optimally if you don't get a little bit of cardio.
yeah, so I would say now that's 6 hours. Let's say I
Yeah.
walk every day or something like that. That's 6 hours to myself. And we should probably full stop there. So
Yeah.
6 hours.
Yeah.
All right, so what am I working on? So now we at least, it's not even a bad thing that you have less time. You at least know how much time you have.
Yeah,
Because if
because
you
you could
don't know
probably
how,
be like, okay, well, maybe I can get by with only spending 4 hours on creating things. If you need some downtime in between, because I work better if I take a break every so often, so my mind doesn't kill. You'd be like, okay, I could play like a single 10-minute match of something
yeah,
an hour in.
hey,
You know, you
I
take a
know it
10
does.
minute break.
I know it doesn't look like it, but I
Yeah.
do play games from time to time. But
Yeah, you just
I
keep it in
schedule that
control.
time even. I schedule that time even because if I let it to let it to the point where it's just like, oh, but I have some free time. Why don't I just play a game or two or something like that?
And
Then
then it just slips
I don't
away.
know. It kind of just slips away, and I kind of just I don't know. That's just a me thing, and I get
Yeah.
it. If you play games, you want to find that sort of relaxation time. That's completely fine.
Oh, I
But
do
if
it.
that's the only wait, what were you saying?
I said I do it. I really like the game League of Legends. I have for a long time, but a normal match takes like 30 minutes, and I ain't got time for that. So I'll go play like the joke mode ARAMs, and those are like 10 to 20 minutes tops. And like, yeah, I could take a single 10-minute break right here before I go back to working. If you
Yeah.
can like actually control your time, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly reasonable. And there was this one time, I think it was a while ago, when I was playing Smash Bros.
Yeah,
Around
that's another good
20
one to control your time because matches are like sub 5 minutes.
or 5 minutes. And if anything, I this is kind of ridiculous when I was doing this, but during the downtime of the matches, I'm like, all right, so I was still conversing with the person I was playing with, or some not against, but I was playing
Yeah.
with people or something like that in a co-op or something like that. But during the downtime, we were just kind of like talking or something like that. But while I was talking, I'm like, maybe I can get one frame of animation done during the downtime, next Smash match, and then ad infinitum, and I just kept doing
Yeah,
that.
especially like if you're in an arena, right, and everybody's rotating around and everything. You might just be in the stands spectating, And you're
Yeah.
like, okay, well, during the spectation, I can just, here's a frame or two. Bup, bup, bup.
Yeah. Yeah, and you'd be surprised at how effective that is because if you're doing like, let's say you're playing 15 Smash matches or something like that, 2 hours pass, you got 15 frames of animation done.
Oh, yeah, no, I was actually, here's a good example. I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14 with a lot of people, right? And there was
Yeah,
this event going on where you had to run the final dungeon of the main story over and over again to get these like tomes to turn in like this kind of currency. But you can't skip the cutscenes. And it's like an hour long where 75% of the dungeon is cutscenes. So I'm like, great, this is perfect. I'm just going to grind this. And during the cutscenes, that's another comic panel. That's another comic panel. Just boom, boom, boom.
that's fun, honestly. And to be honest, I'm completely fine doing that too. But sometimes whenever I'm like, oh, I just want to play just the game and not worry about my
Yeah.
work at the moment, that's fine too. I guess it's just more so for the menial tasks. I'm just like, yeah, maybe I can just bring my work alongside when I'm playing a game. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, but it's planned out ahead, right? Like
Yeah.
you're in control of it. That's the whole discipline aspect. And I think that's the problem that with me is that it's not that hard to start to develop good habits in that way.
Hmm.
But
Some
you got to actually try to develop the good habits.
Yeah, it takes time. It takes time. If anything, it all starts. Let's say you're like listening in. It starts today. You could probably
Yep.
just say, "Oh, I'm gonna make a Google Calendar thing," and let's say I'm gonna lay out my tasks. I'm gonna do my chores here. Maybe I'll just draw a sketch or something like that, and I'll come back to the sketch tomorrow and then finish up the sketch. It all starts from like one little task that you put on like a
Yeah.
Google Calendar sheet.
But it's the other things too, right? Like it doesn't
Yeah,
matter when you get your sleep, but you should probably get a full, depending on what your body needs, 6 to 10 hours of sleep because everybody's different. Average is
yeah,
going to be about 8. Right? Like you need your full sleep, you need to eat, you need a little bit of exercise because your brain doesn't work properly if you're not taking care of your body. It's part of your
yeah.
body, and you're not
Yeah,
going to be able to create properly if you're not taking care of your body.
you need to know when to sleep because every single other task you have in the day isn't going to wait for you. You have to make
Yeah.
sure you go to sleep at the right time.
Yeah, luckily I've figured out how to get most of my tasks to line up with my very bizarre sleep schedule, but a lot of people can't figure that out.
Yeah, it's different for everyone.
Yeah. Now, before we let everything get away with you, because I plan for these to be like only an hour,
Mm.
let's take a little bit of time to actually break down, maybe short, like some elevator pitches of what your 3 series you're doing right now are, one at a
Ooh,
time.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, without looking at my YouTube channel, I'm gonna minimize that.
yeah,
Let's. All right. So with Beyond the Fog, if I were to give like a 1 minute elevator pitch or something like that,
yeah,
it's essentially this series where these two kids who are now adults later on in the story grow up to try to save their father from being separated. A tale of dissociation, where it's this huge, like monolithic figure known as Abyss, who controls all of these dead and gone, quote unquote, dead and gone figures known as converted. There are these tall skeletons. They try to kill everyone in their path and make them convert into their own war. I guess their own. I guess. Oh shoot! This elevator pitch isn't working.
Oh yeah, this is a
I
horrible
already
elevator
failed
pitch, man.
it.
And you got 2 more to do after this.
No, yeah, it's this huge war that goes between the humans and this, I guess, this tirade. I guess I don't know how to
Mhm.
describe it. I should have been more prepared to say this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's your show. You should know.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, who's going to sell it but you?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, so it's essentially just this tale of association where these two kids try to like find their father again and reclaim what was once theirs. Yeah.
I mean, it's good enough, you know.
Good enough. You got the job. No, I didn't get the
Yeah,
job.
it's very fantasy. That's a very important part of it. I think all 3 of yours would definitely fall into probably high fantasy, like some form of high fantasy.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I'm
because
actually
there's
not familiar
magic
with that.
involved, or there's like non-human people, and it is definitely like these type of like a very modern take on high fantasy worlds, even if they're kind of rustic,
Hmm.
but a modern take as in like the way high fantasy has evolved in the perspective of modern people, and less like say Tolkien high fantasy.
Hmm. That's an interesting way of putting it.
Yeah.
I suppose. Well, okay. So if I were to say more about what my whole shtick is with just making these animated series, and I'm still writing a lot of them at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
They're basically kind of in tandem with what is going on in my life currently. Not necessarily with Beyond the Fog. That didn't happen. But um, with
Yet.
let's put Chaotic Heart in perspective and all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot of that stuff. I'm in college currently, and I have debt to pay. Kai has debt to pay. She's a bounty hunter, and there's a lot of chaos going on in the world right now. It dating this no. There's a lot of chaos going on in the series as well. So I like to just sort of make what's going on in the real world, I guess, into my stories and kind of
Yeah.
develop it so it's not necessarily just one to one what's going on. It's just like,
Don't worry
oh,
about dating it. There's always chaos in the world. It's like one of the few things that's constant.
yeah, that's true. I suppose with Solace now, it's sort of something that I've realized after I've developed Chaotic Heart. It's like, you know what? Maybe there shouldn't be a lot of chaos going on in the world. Maybe I want to give people some, like, an out to just relax, I guess. But I don't want to outright say it because if I just say, hey, this is a series to relax to, it's not going to be, like, well received, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
They have to be the judge.
I don't know. I've enjoyed all of them so far. They've got
Nice.
their own little personality to them.
Yeah. With some future series, I'm actually hopefully developing with my college stuff or something like that. I'm actually developing one series that's hopefully going to be 3D animated, 2D, 3D,
Hmm.
because I'm actually learning how to do 3D animation. And one other one that's kind of based off of my infatuation with nature. Dragonflies are cool, and I want to make it so that it's these large scale dragonflies that people have to preserve, and this evil blob or something like that is trying to kill the dragonflies. I don't know.
Yeah. So when you say 2D, 3D, right, or whatever, do you mean like using 3D models to kind of like simulate the look of 2D, or?
That is a good question. I'm actually hoping to make it in the visual aspect all 2D, but okay, let me say right now it's a mecha.
Okay.
Yeah, it's sort of like this sort of
I
okay,
do like
I'm not gonna
mechas.
spoil too yeah,
Except I
I'm not gonna
actually, if you could pull it off, that's fine. But I fucking
ooh.
hate 3D modeling in my mechas.
That's fair. I
Yeah.
would okay, I can probably say it now. It's not necessarily super like I don't know. It's this mecha anime where they are not inside the mecha. They have to control the mecha from the outside. Ooh,
Ah, like drones or whatever,
yeah.
right?
And another acquaintance of mine said a marionette.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah, ooh. So they puppeteer. They are puppeteers. They kind of puppet the mech to do what they want from the outside. But
So
that's
they're
something I'll
like
figure out.
dolls. That actually reminds me of because they used that term in it was one of the Gundam series. I think it might have even been Wing, where instead of actually having like all the grunts be piloted by people that would die in the explosions, all the units were dolls that were like remotely controlled, mostly through AI, so they could control entire like infantries at the same time.
Ooh,
Yeah. Which I
that's
thought
it.
like,
That's
oh,
pretty
that's
cool.
neat, especially when you know there's like people with these super destructive Gundams that could tear through a whole army at once. That'd just be a waste of men otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's pretty much what I like to do, I guess. Just in terms of making stories, I like to look at my window and say, okay, now I want to make a series called Chaotic Heart.
Yeah. No,
Just
I could totally
yeah, it.
relate. I just make whatever I want at any time. You know, because you got to
Yeah,
feel it. You know, you got to feel the story that you're working on.
and I gotta like make sure I think of, not necessarily think about it every waking second, but if there's like a dull moment in my life or something like that, I'm like, what if I made this show or something like that? And I start to sketch it out on like a little sticky note, like, oh, this is a character, this is their love interest. I don't have a love interest.
Yeah. But like the bigger problem is knowing when to cut off how many things you're working on.
Ooh, yeah.
I've got that issue.
I figured that out the hard way.
Yeah. It's like, oh no, but this one would be so fun. Please,
Yeah, but
I
I
can
want to.
squeeze it in. I can squeeze it in.
I want to make a movie.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah,
it's rough.
it makes a lot of sense. It's just you want to work on it, but should you work on it?
No, probably
Just
not.
keep it in your little Google Sheets document for later, and come back to it.
Yeah, the thing's starting to rack up.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Oh God. You hate to see mine. It's like a dozen, like dozens of them. Just trying to like make sure I pick the one that's right for the time.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, oof, I can relate. I think I have like because I work with artists on shorts every so often, like little short comics that'll be somewhere between 1 to 10 pages. So if it's like sub 10 pages, I'll consider it a short. And that's my way of like leaking these other stories out. And I have this isn't the total list, but I have 20 right now that are prepared to be worked on. Like I could give a script to an artist at any time from one of those 20 stories.
Hmm.
And that's probably too much even just for that.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
No,
you should do. You
it
just
does
start
sound like
making
a lot.
scripts and start like after you get a name, just pass on animations to other artists and just have your name stamped on. You're like, yeah, no, I wrote this.
Yeah. He's like, I animated this. I did the concept art. That's what I've been thinking about doing for a future one. I just have. Hmm. I had people essentially do the concept art, and they can be labeled as the concept artist or something like that,
Yeah,
and say, "Hey, I pretty much, hey, you know what? That'd probably be what people are not people, but that's probably what I should be doing when it comes to commissioning people. I just say, hey, do you want to do this character sheet real quick or something like that? I'll pay you $200.
that way I don't have to draw the same hat 200 times to figure out how he looks.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, Indigo's fun to draw though. He's
Yeah.
essentially just a figure eight in a half circle.
Yep.
It's all.
With a surprising amount of personality. But that's the fun thing about cartoons is you could take something that simple and the way it can emote from just like contorting its shape can just have a ton of personality.
Verbatim. Okay,
Yeah.
so I was okay. I had some people who was like, "Hey, Nine, are you able to show us your animation, something like that?" Yeah, that's cool. And then episode 2 of Chaotic Heart came along, and then Indigo says, "Like, could be better." And I all I heard was, "The hat talks." that's that's all I needed to hear, and I'm like, "Yep, he talks."
Yeah. It's great.
And then the rest of the episodes happen.
Yeah. You've gotten to work with some cool people on this too, because obviously anything that's animated like this, Solace not so much. That because I think there's mostly silent, right? Just with like
Yeah, it's
music playing.
nonverbal.
Yeah, but the others, voice acting,
Yeah,
and so you've had to work with voice actors.
yeah.
And
Working with the
how's
voice
that like
actors is fun.
animating people like over people's voices and stuff like that?
Yeah, no, I like to work with voice actors too. It's also a good thing because whenever it comes to, I guess, when the end product is done and all that stuff, it's not just voice actors, more so for everyone that's worked on it. They're like, hey, I worked on this little thing. So it's a win for everyone.
Yeah, portfolio content.
Yeah, portfolio. There you go. Just hoping that the landscape of I don't want hopefully I don't get like too sidetracked with this, but I just hope the landscape of the online world wide web with social media stays the same. That'd be cool, but I don't know if it's going to stay the same
Oh,
for the
it's
next
not.
5 years.
It's
Yeah,
it
it's
never
going to
does.
change. Yeah, it is going to change, and that worries me, but it also excites me because it's just like I wonder what's going to be next.
Well,
Hopefully,
you know what you can rely on being consistent?
what
This same website that's been around for like go almost 27 years now.
that is true. It's older
Yeah.
than me,
Yeah,
just by
yeah.
a year.
Man,
That
that's
is
funny.
very true.
Because I was thinking about that too. Because I in the like festival server, I'm one of the older people, so like I was already
Ah,
alive
yeah.
when Newgrounds was made, and it's always funny to think because like one of the other people I knew beforehand was Stan, who's only like 2 years younger than me, but then I'm thinking like, oh my god, there are so many people in this server that weren't even alive when this website was made.
Yeah, I'm starting to find there are people like there's people that are half my age almost on Newgrounds, and that
Oh
wow,
yeah.
that's it's just like wow, man.
Like I don't have a lot of followers on Newgrounds, but lately most of the people that have been following me are like 16 and 15. And if somebody's 15, they are half my age. I'm just like,
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
It's something where time is important, and I guess if we're bringing like full circle, that it's important to make sure that you don't waste your time.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, this was
It's
like,
important.
talking about. I'm trying to get the people to get disciplined and find their voice early on because it's something I did like way back when I was in like the voice part in like high school. The discipline part probably started in middle school before that, and it's like, boom, I've had that for like well over a decade, or going on like 2 decades for some of it, and I see a lot of these people who are just like turning like they're 18 turning 19, 20, and they're trying to get into it and they're just rushing through and they didn't do all the legwork. It's like no, but you're still young. This is a perfect time to do the legwork. Just focus on that right now and you can
Oh, but
hop
it's gonna
into
take too
whatever you
long.
want.
It's take way too long. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the same way. This was something that I've done, I guess, when I was exiting elementary school. Okay, this is probably something when it comes to just how I was brought up. My parents are accountants. They're
Yeah, yeah.
they're very meticulous with how they need things to be done, and that's completely fine. Not everyone's brought up the same way, but I have been disciplined to be like, all right, so I'm gonna make this drawing at X date, and I literally just made this one sheet of paper when I was just like in middle school. I just kept it with me throughout like the entirety of middle school. It's like I'm gonna make this one drawing of Sonic the Hedgehog this day, and I'm gonna make the next like drawing of Mario the next week or something like that. And I literally just scheduled it out for my entire career of middle school. And I'm like, what was I thinking? But it also helped me, I guess,
Yeah. At
at a
least you're
young
not like
age.
me. I let my grades suffer because I'm like, I'm not getting enough time at home to work on stuff. I'm going to let this class suffer this 6 weeks so I can work on personal projects in it.
Yeah.
Which was fine though, because I always rotated it, so I kept like an A minus or B average for the whole year. I was very
Hmm.
smart about it, but it's like,
We stay winning.
school's not that important. I need to work on stuff.
Yeah, it's based on person to person.
Yeah.
I just feel like that it also bases off of time, just making sure you have enough time for things.
Oh yeah.
I know we keep bringing it up, but it
It's
bears
important.
repeating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
very
important.
important.
If it comes to the point where it's just like I'm calculating how many minutes I have in my entire life left, then I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be worrying about this.
Haha, joke's on you. You
I,
can't possibly know.
yeah, maybe it could be. Maybe I only have 5 more minutes left in my life right about now. Who
Yeah, yeah.
knows?
Maybe we'll finish this interview. I'll hang up and never hear from you again. Oh, no.
Yeah.
But that would be horrible because then you couldn't accept the project invite and I could get all of the views from people that follow you.
That's dang, you're right. Make it
Yeah,
10 minutes.
yeah, yeah. I'll set up the project quick, even if it's scheduled for the future.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah. I've also been just I don't know. I want to go back to what you were saying about the whole thing where it's just like disciplining people and all that stuff. I don't want to necessarily say it like for myself. I don't want to
Yeah.
act like I'm a teacher or anything, but I want to base it off my own experience. I was thinking about making either a video or a panel based off my own experience with just scheduling things out
Oh,
and just
you
making sure
should.
that yeah, I know. I've gotten various comments from people saying like I've said to them, they're saying, yeah, nah, you should do it, and
Yeah.
I don't know when to do it.
Yeah, that's probably because you have to schedule your panel for scheduling.
Speaking of which, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I've been thinking about doing it for the summer fest or the winter fest,
No,
but I
no, you
honestly,
should do it before then. It's more important. So,
yeah,
because Stan will let you do like a random panel, kind of like how Annie Sloth does his Annie University things, right? You
ooh,
can just do one anytime. You just find a time that works for you,
yeah.
like in an afternoon or an evening that you're not too crammed, and just spend like an hour, doing that live
I'll make
on
sure
the festival channel.
I'll make sure I'm well rested for that too, because
Oh
if
yeah,
I'm not well rested, that's not a good
yeah.
not a good look for me.
Take a power nap beforehand.
A power nap.
Oh, dude, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're like me. I can't force myself to nap. I have like
I
one
can't.
window for sleeping every like cycle, and that's it.
Nope, I can't nap at all.
Yeah,
That's something I cannot do anymore.
it sucks. I wish I
I
could nap.
I wish I could nap too, but if anything, it's probably not to sound robotic, but it's probably best for me to not nap because that means I'm making sure that everything that I want to do is done and I get my right sleep for it. So it's a nice
Yeah.
little capstone to the end of the day.
Well, that's the worst part. You take a power nap, and then all of a sudden you think, oh, maybe it'll set my sleep back an hour, and I'll still wake up on time. No, you're like asleep 3 hours later, and then you're tired as heck when your alarm goes off in the morning.
It's like one of those Olympic mini games or something like that where you're playing it and you're like, I need to like sprint as fast as I can, and then you're losing stamina. It's like, no, but I'm losing ground. I need to sprint again, and then you lose ground again.
Yeah,
It
and you're like,
snowballs.
because you did get your second win, but that only lasts so long.
It's like, yeah, I
I'm
don't know.
probably on my like fifth win right now.
Oh no.
So yeah, I'm used to it. If you're talking about somebody who can power through like way past their schedule, man, I've done like I think the longest I've ever stayed up straight was 76 hours.
Ooh, wow. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
how was that?
That was crazy. I've done
Oh
several
my.
72-hour ones, but like even those extra like 4 hours really cut it, right? Because you're starting to get to auditory hallucinations a little
Mhm,
bit.
yeah. It's basically
For
being drunk.
for the dumbest thing, right? Because like at the start of it, I actually was working on a project, but then I went over to like a friend's house for a weekend, and they're like, "Hey, decorate our Animal Crossing Wild World towns." And I ended up like pimping out because you could like put tiles on the floor to actually make the town look different if you were to like good at that.
Yeah.
And then when I got home, luckily it was a 4 day weekend. I crashed for like 18 hours straight.
That's another thing with me too. Yeah, I can't. Actually, well, at the moment, I could probably do a 24-hour one, but I cannot bring. I have to. I have to plan that. I actually have to
Yeah,
plan
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah. Most of them. That was like a weird one because it was a 4 day weekend. Most of the time that I do like a 72-hour is because there's like a convention going on, and I'm just up the entire time I'm at the convention. Which is fine because usually when you're dedicated scheduled to a convention, you're not doing anything. Probably wasn't smart that I did that pretty much during the Summerfest and I had a panel to run.
Hmm.
But I I thought I had one of the best panels there, so I'm not gonna question it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's oh man. I just hope that when it comes to if I well I need to let me, let me put that on my calendar right now. Make that outline for the panel that you're ultimately going to do because if you don't do it, then when are you ever going to do it?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, that would be
we're
something else.
we'll have to catch up. We'll have to do a follow-up episode in like, I don't know, a year or whatever, like after like a season of the show has passed through. But we're coming up to the end of the hour.
Oh yeah, time.
I
Right.
know these things always fly by faster than you think they are because you just get wrapped up in the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there
Time is
anything you want
fleeting.
to say about your projects or anything before we close out?
Well, I'm definitely not going to say anything, Jive, because I think that's just the obvious thing to do. What I will say is that if you're interested in knowing how I create, not how, but if you're interested in knowing what I create, I have several playlists on both Newgrounds and YouTube where you can easily just watch my stuff and it's easy to pick up. It's not like a 6 hour anime, it's only 30 minutes. That's all
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is.
Because I see the playlist in front of me. There's Solace is just two, and then you've got 6 and 6 for Chaotic Heart and Beyond the Fogs. It's pretty easy to grind through.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Glad I can.
obviously, your link will be in the description, as well as when the project goes up, you'll be on that sidebar too. This is only on Newgrounds, but they can jump to your profile and find your YouTube channel and all that stuff as well.
Yay. All
Yeah.
right. Well, it was fun discussing all this stuff, and hopefully, if I ever scrounge up the confidence, which
Yeah.
I will do a panel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And for people who are too lazy to even just click on something that's easily there. It's 9 hammer. It's literally
Okay.
the word hammer with the number 9 in front of it.
Yep.
Don't be lazy, people.
Alrighty.
Thanks for coming on. It was fun.
Not a problem. It was fun talking about this.
Yeah, yeah.